So manage your environment, go first class. This is the book, The Magic of Thinking Big. What I want you to do, if you listen to any of this, and it's not a priority, or it should be, but it's not something that you have to do, but if you do, and there's a takeaway, write it in the comments. When you write something down, it's better if you write on paper, but put it in the comments straight away so that it will stick in your mind a bit longer. You know, when you hear the first, like a song, and you hear the first line, that line just keeps playing over and over and over again in your head. That's how you get things into your subconscious mind. So through repetition. So listen, take what you do, take from it, take what you will, and let's go. So manage your environment, go first class. Your mind is an amazing mechanism. When your mind works one way, it can carry you forward to outstanding success. But the same mind operating in a different manner can produce a total failure. The mind is the most delicate, most sensitive instrument in all creation. Let's look now and see what makes the mind think the way that it does. Millions of people are diet conscious. We're a calorie counting nation. We spend millions of dollars on vitamins, minerals and other dietary supplements. And we all know why. Through nutritional research, we've learned that the body reflects the diet fed the body. Like, doesn't this just go into wild bit? This is amazing. Physical stamina, resistance to disease, body size, even how long we live, are all closely related to what we eat. The body is what the body is fed. By the same token, the mind is what the mind is fed. Mind food, of course, doesn't come in packages, and you can't buy it at a store. Mind food is your environment, all the countless things that influence your conscious and subconscious thought. The kind of mind food we consume determines our habits, our attitudes, our personality. Each of us inherited a certain capacity to develop. How much of that capacity we develop and the way we have developed that capacity depends on the kind of mind food we feed it. The mind reflects what its environment feeds it just as surely as the body reflects the food you feed it. Have you ever thought what kind of person you would be had you been reared by in some foreign country instead of the United States or whatever country you're in? What kind of foods would you prefer? Would your preferences for clothing be the same? What sort of entertainment would you like the most? What kind of work would you be doing? What would your religion be? You can't, of course, be sure of the answers to these questions, but chances are you would be a materially different person had you grown up in a different country. Why? Because you would have been influenced by a different environment. As the saying goes, you are a product of your environment. Mark it well. Environment shapes us, makes us the way we are. Makes us think the way we do. Try to name just one habit or one mannerism you have that you did not pick up from other people. Relatively minor things like the way we walk, cough, hold a cup, our preferences for music, literature, entertainment, clothing, all stem in very large part from environment. More important, the size of your thinking, your goals, your attitudes, your very personality is formed by your environment. Prolonged association with negative people makes us think negatively. Close contact with petty individuals develops petty habits in us. On the bright side, companionship with people with big ideas raises the level of our thinking. Close contact with ambitious people gives us ambition. Experts agree that the person you are today, your personality, ambitions, present status in life are largely the result of your psychological environment. And experts agree also that the person you will be 1, 5, 10, 20 years from now depends almost entirely on your future environment. You will change over the months and years, this we know, but how you will change depends on your future environment, the mind food you feed yourself. Let's look now at what we can do to make our future environment pay off in satisfaction and prosperity. Recondition yourself for success. The number one obstacle on the road to high-level success is the feeling that major accomplishment is beyond reach. This attitude stems from many, many suppressive forces that direct our thinking towards mediocre levels. To understand these suppressive forces, let's go back to the time we were children. As children, all of us set high goals. At a surprisingly young age, we made plans to conquer the unknown, to be leaders, to attain positions of high importance, to be exciting and stimulating, to do exciting and stimulating things, to become wealthy and famous. In short, to be first, biggest and best. And in our blessed ignorance, we saw our way clear to accomplish these goals. But what happened? Long before we reached the age when we could begin to work towards our great objectives, a multitude of suppressive influences went to work. From all sides we've heard it's foolish to be a dreamer, and that your ideas were impractical, stupid, naive or foolish, that you have got to have money to go places, that luck determines who gets ahead and you've got to have important friends, or you're too old or too young. As a result of being bombarded with the "you can't get ahead so don't bother trying" propaganda, most people you know can be classified into three groups. The first group, those who surrender quickly. The majority of people are convinced deep down inside that they haven't got what it takes, that real success, real accomplishment, is for others who are lucky or fortunate in some special respect. You can easily spot these people because they go to great lengths to rationalize their status and explain how happy they really are. A very intelligent man, aged 32, who has dead-ended himself in a safe but mediocre position, recently spent hours telling me why he was so satisfied with his job. He did a good job of rationalizing, but he was only kidding himself, and he knew it. What he really wanted was to work in a challenging situation where he could grow and develop. But that multitude of suppressive influences had convinced him that he was inadequate for big things. This group is in reality just the other extreme of the discontented job switcher, searching for opportunity, rationalizing yourself into a rut, which incidentally has been described as a grave with both ends open, can be as bad as wandering aimlessly, hoping opportunity will somehow, someday, hit you in the face. Second group, those who surrender partially. A second but much smaller group enters adult life with considerable hope for success. These people prepare themselves. They work, they plan, but after a decade or so, resistance begins to build up. Competition for top-level jobs looks rugged. This group then decides that greater success is not worth the effort. They rationalize. We're earning more than the average and we live better than the average. Why should we knock ourselves out? Actually, this group has developed a set of fears. Fears of failure, fears of social disapproval, fear of insecurity, fear of losing what they already have. These people aren't satisfied because deep down they know they have surrendered. This group includes many talented, intelligent people who elect to crawl through life because they are afraid to stand up and run. The third group, those who never surrender. This group, maybe 2 or 3% of the total, doesn't let pessimism dictate, doesn't believe in surrendering to suppressive forces, doesn't believe in crawling. Instead, these people live and breathe success. This group is the happiest because it accomplishes the most. These people become top salesmen, top executives, top leaders in their respective fields. These people find life stimulating, rewarding, worthwhile. These people look forward to each new day, each new encounter with other people, as adventures to be lived fully. Let's be honest. All of us would like to be in the third group, the one that finds greater success each year, the one that does things and gets results. To get and stay in this group, however, we must fight off the suppressive influences of our environment. To understand how persons in the first and second groups will unwittingly try to hold you back, study this example. Suppose you tell several of your average friends with the greatest sincerity, "Someday I'm going to be vice president of this company." What will happen? Your friends will probably think you're joking. And if they should believe you mean it, chances are they will say, "You poor guy, you sure have a lot to learn." Behind your back, they may even question whether you have all your marbles. Now, assume you repeat the same statement with equal sincerity to the president of the company. How will he react? One thing is for certain, he will not laugh. He will look at you intently and ask himself, "Does this fellow really mean this?" But he will not, we repeat, laugh. Because big men don't laugh at big ideas. Or suppose you tell some average people you plan to own an expensive home, and they may laugh at you because they think it's impossible. But tell your plan to a person already living in an expensive home, and he won't be surprised. He knows it isn't impossible because he's already done it. Remember, people who tell you it cannot be done almost always are unsuccessful people, are strictly average or mediocre at best in terms of accomplishment. The opinions of other people can be poison. Develop a defense against people who want to convince you that you can do it. Accept negative advice only as a challenge to prove that you can do it. Be extra cautious about this. Don't let negative thinking people, negators, destroy your plan to think yourself to success. Negators are everywhere, and they seem to delight in sabotaging the positive progress of others. During college, I buddied for a couple in semesters with WW. He was a fine friend, the kind of fellow who would loan you a little money when you were short or help you in many little ways. Despite his fine loyalty, WW was just about 100% sour and bitter towards life, the future, opportunity. He was a real negator. During that period, I was an enthusiastic reader of a certain newspaper columnist who stressed hope, the positive approach opportunity. When WW would find me reading this columnist, or when her column was mentioned, he'd swing verbally and say, "Oh, for Pete's sake, Dave, read the front page. That's where you learn about life. You ought to know that columnists is just making a quick buck dishing out sweet sauce for the week." When our discussions turned to getting ahead in life, WW was right there with his money-making formula. In his own words, it went like this: "Dave, there are just 3 ways to make money these days. 1, marry a rich woman. 2, steal in a nice, clean, legal way. Or 3, get to know the right people, somebody with plenty of pull." WW was always prepared to defend his formula with examples. Sticking to the front page, he was quick to cite that one Labour leader in 1,000 who had siphoned off a pile of money from the Union till and got away with it. He kept his eyes open for the rare marriage of the fruit picker to Miss Millionaire, and he knew a fellow who knew a fellow who knew a big man and got a cut-in on a deal that made him rich. WW was several years older than I, and he had made excellent grades in his engineering classes. I looked up to him in a younger brother sort of way. I came dangerously close to ditching my basic convictions about what it takes to be a success and accepting the negator's philosophy. Fortunately, one evening after a long discussion with WW, I grabbed hold of myself. It dawned on me that I was listening to the voice of failure. It seemed to me WW was talking more to convince himself than he was to convert me to his way of thinking. From then on, I regarded WW as an object lesson, a sort of experimental guinea pig. Rather than buy what he said, I studied him, trying to figure out why he thought the way he did, and where such thinking would come from. I turned my negator friend into a personal experiment. I haven't seen WW in 11 years, but a mutual friend saw him just a few months ago. WW is working at a low-paid draftsman in Washington. I asked my friend whether WW had changed. No, except if anything, he's more negative than when we knew him. He's having a tough go of it. He has 4 children, and on his income it's rough. Old WW has the brains to be making 5 times what he is, if he just knew how to use those brains. Negators are everywhere. Some negators, like the one who almost tripped me, are well-meaning folks. But others are jealous people who, not moving ahead themselves, want you to stumble too. They feel inadequate themselves, so they want to make a mediocre person out of you. Be extra careful. Study negators. Don't let them destroy your plans for success. A young office worker recently explained to me why he had changed carpools. One fellow, he said, talked about nothing, trip in and trip out, except an awful company he worked for. Regardless of what management did, he found fault. He was negative about everyone from his supervisor on up. The products were sold were not good. Every policy had something wrong with it. As he saw it, absolutely everything had something wrong with it. Each morning I arrived at work tense and wound up tight. And each night, after hearing him preach and rant for 45 minutes about all the things that went wrong that day, I got home discouraged and depressed. Finally, I got sense enough to get into another carpool. It made a world of difference. For now, I'm with a group of fellows who can see two sides to a question. That young fellow changed his environment. Smart, wasn't he? Make no mistake about it, you are judged by the company you keep. Birds of a feather do flock together. Fellow workers are not alike, not all alike. Some are negative, others positive. Some work because they have to, others are ambitious and work for advancement. Some associates belittle everything the boss says or does, others are much more objective and realise they must be good fellows before they can be good leaders. How we think is directly affected by the group we're in. Be sure you're not in a flock that thinks right. Be sure you're in a flock that thinks right. There are pitfalls to watch in your work environment. In every group there are persons who, secretly aware of their own inadequacies, want to stand in your way and prevent you from making progress. Many ambitious fellows have been laughed at, even threatened, because they tried to be more efficient and produce more. Let's face it, some folks, being jealous, want to make you feel embarrassed because you want to move upwards. This often happens in factories, where fellow workers sometimes resent the fellow who wants to speed up production. It happens in the military service, when a clique of negative-minded individuals poke fun at and try to humiliate the young soldier who wants to go to officers' school. It happens in business too, when a few individuals not qualified to advance try to block the way for someone else. You've seen it happen time and again in high schools, when a group of lunkheads deride a classmate who has the good sense to make the most of his educational opportunities and come out with high grades. Sometimes, all too sadly, often, the bright student is jeered at. He reaches the conclusion that it isn't smart to be intelligent. Ignore such negative thinkers in your midst, for often the remarks made in your direction aren't so personal as you might think at first. They are merely a projection of the speaker's own feeling of failure and discouragement. Don't let negative thinkers pull you down to their level. Let them slide by, like the water from the proverbial duck's back. Cling to people who think progressively. Move upward with them. You can do it simply by thinking right. A special word of caution. Be careful about your source of advice. In most organisations you will encounter freelance advisors who know the ropes and are tremendously eager to clue you in. One time I overheard a freelance advisor explaining the facts of office life to a bright young man just starting in. Said the advisor, "The best way to get along here is to just stay out of everybody's way. If they ever get to know you, all they'll do is pile more work on you. Be especially careful to stay away from Mr. Z, the department manager. If he thinks you haven't got enough to do, he'll really load you down." This freelance advisor had been with the company for almost 30 years, and he was still bottom man on the totem pole. What a consultant for a young fellow who wants to move upward in the business. I do have to leave it there. Make it a rule to seek advice from people who know. Yep, I will have to leave it there. I am dreadfully sorry that I haven't been able to do the whole lot. I'll be back in the morning with the rest of it. Thank you so much. Remember, whatever you take away, and really think about it, your 5 closest friends are who you tune into. Choose them wisely. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.